Okay, this is Whiskey Bravo 5 Delta for the Medical Amateur Radio Council, Grand Rounds on the Internet, AA4FL to Mike. I know this is contest weekend, so the 20-meter side might be a little loud. Hopefully everybody's enjoying the Zoom presentation, including those of you in the general public that are viewing us on YouTube. And we're talking about tryptophan in turkey today, one of the traditional Thanksgiving essentials. And as we talk about tryptophan in turkey and the connection, we'll also talk about other aspects of Thanksgiving here and medical considerations. And this is the third discussion we've actually had involving foods associated with Thanksgiving and human health. The first two discussions, interactive conversations here on the radio, on our net, as well as on YouTube, were videos that are available on our Health Care Hams channel. So for those of you that are listening on 20 meters here, if you just go to YouTube and look for the Healthcare Hams channel, you'll be able to find our different videos that we produce off of our Grand Rounds of the Air net sessions. As a organization, the Medical Amateur Radio Council has been in existence since 1966. We're an ARRL affiliated club. We meet weekly on this net on 20 meters. Usually we're up at 14,342. We're down 1 KC today because of contest QRM. So the previous discussions that we've had on our 20-meter net were on pumpkin and nutrition, which is really starting off the holiday season during Halloween. And as we talked about that in detail, we made a video that's available on YouTube. But we also had previously talked about salmonellosis, as we're talking about turkeys here and the way to prepare turkeys. That was covered quite a bit in that presentation. We hope that you'll find that, and perhaps in the future we'll pick up a discussion about cranberry. And anybody else that has suggestions of topics that are associated with Thanksgiving or the holiday season, don't be shy. Email me at my QRZ address. Again, the home call is AA4FL, Alpha Alpha 4, Foxtrot Lima. And you can always contact us through the club call, the Whiskey Bravo 5 Delta. We're open to all amateur radio operators. This is as amateur radio operators as a club, Medical Amateur Radio Council is a group that shares their passion for healthcare related topics. This, on our net, as many of you do on nets, you have a particular hobby or an interest that you have commonality with other hams, and you spend the time on nets discussing that. No different here for the Medical Amateur Radio Council. So what about the basics of tryptophan? I mean, it's amino acid. It's not produced by the body, so it needs to be ingested in the diet. It's a precursor for other important chemicals, which we'll touch base on it. I mean, is it other traditional foods or just normal foods? And I think the big question in culture now, does it cause drowsiness? This is something that's made mainstream culture, that tryptophan in turkey equates to drowsiness. So on Thanksgiving, I mean, we're talking about a holiday, and we are appreciating, showing appreciation. A holiday of appreciation includes a celebratory meal. But what are your family's traditions? What do you do? I mean, we know about football, getting together and food, but what part of Thanksgiving do you show thankfulness with your family? What are your traditions for that? We'll pause here a minute to make a list for those of you who would like to offer your input, either in 20 meters or coming in through the other side. This is Whiskey Bravo 5 Delta, pausing to make a list of individuals that can contribute about your family's traditions for Thanksgiving. Right now, make your call. Okay, a little early in the presentation here. We'll have plenty of time to pause for input. And as we talk about gratitude and well-being, I mean, Thanksgiving being Thanksgiving, there's plenty of confirmation that gratitude is important for well-being and health. There's a particular article that was in a psychiatry journal, a 2010 article, and you can search for that on the internet. It's an NIH also backed article, which you can actually find it on their site. Now, as you do a lot of these articles, realize when you search for different articles, you may not always get a full article. You may just get an abstract. In this particular case, you'll get both. If you Google search, or however search engine you do, on gratitude and well-being, the name, look for Sansone, Sansone, is the author. and you will find the benefits of appreciation and well-being. You'll find this particular article. You'll get the link to the abstract. But then in addition, this one's an open article that links to a Adobe Acrobat file, and you can read the article in detail. And certainly it shows some of the highlights of how important to your health gratitude can be, and Thanksgiving is a nice time to express it. But if we go into the different countries and the background of Thanksgiving, we know what we do here. Most of us do. We didn't come in with any individual descriptions within your families, but other countries also have Thanksgiving. It's not just us. Canada's first Thanksgiving celebration actually predated ours by more than 40 years, because in 1578 there was an expedition by an English navigator, and he held a ceremony in what is one of the now native villages in North America, northern Canada, giving thanks for the safety of their fleet. And that was considered to be the first ever Thanksgiving celebration in North America. Although the First Nations, the indigenous peoples of Canada, and Native Americans have been holding harvest festivals long before Europeans arrived. So we're talking about the Pilgrim Thanksgiving that this predated. Loyalists who moved to Canada during the Revolutionary War introduced turkey along with some other customs to the American Thanksgiving. And Canada's Parliament formally established the National Thanksgiving Day on November 6th in 1879. And in 1957, it was changed to the second Monday in October. Now, we did have one of our previous net discussions on nutrition. We did have a Canadian amateur that checked in and told us all about Thanksgiving from his perspective. I think it was during the pumpkin discussion that we had at 20 meters, because he lives in an agricultural area and of Ontario, and in his particular area, he was just celebrating, just getting ready to celebrate Thanksgiving. They grew a lot of pumpkins in his area. They even have similarity to American Thanksgiving, eating turkey and watching football. I mean, their version of this Canadian Football League, where they hold an annual Thanksgiving Day Classic, similar to what we do in the NFL. So if you search for this, you can find this description where this is extracted from, or an excerpt from, on the history.com. Just search for Thanksgiving celebrations around the world. And this is how we express thankfulness, how they do it in Canada, very similar to how we do it here in the United States. But Germany has equivalent. Their Thanksgiving is a harvest festival of thanks. I won't try to say it in German, mutilate it. The religious holiday takes place on the first Sunday in October. And though rural areas take the harvest concept more literally, churches in German cities also join in the celebration, giving thanks for the good fortune the congregations experienced that year. And they may carry grains, fruits, and flowers to the church in a solemn procession, and then feast on the hearty fare, such as they fattened up chickens and castrated roosters. So a little bit different than turkey, but a lot of similarities there. So we move on to other culture. Think about Liberia. In Liberia, although it's in West Africa, could their celebration be based on an American-style Thanksgiving tradition? After all, there were freed slaves from the United States established Liberia in the early 1820s with the help of the American Colonization Society, which was a private organization that believed returning African Americans to the country of the origins would provide them with greater opportunity and help spread Christianity to Africa, solve the nagging problem of slavery in the United States at that time. But in the early 1880s, the government passed an act in Liberia declaring the first Thursday of November as National Thanksgiving Day. But today it's largely a Christian holiday where churches auction off baskets filled with local fruits like papayas and mangoes. After their services or church services, the local families then feast on the bounty. And instead of turkey and pumpkin, their tables boast items such as spicy roast chicken and mashed cassavas, and live music and dancing being part of their celebration. Other countries are detailed in this particular article on history.com. Japan, Norfolk Island in the Australia area, Grenada, the Netherlands, Puerto Rico. And appreciation for the bounty of the earth is the common theme, as in other cultures and religions with parallel holidays, for example, in the Jewish religion, Sukkot, where you're celebrating the bounty. And I'm sure you can think of many others. But the appreciation of freedom is assisted by the USA as part of one celebration in particular, but the one we talked about in Liberia in part. But celebrations are appreciation based, but they're not always harvest or food based. We also have components like Black Friday here in the United States. That's derived from US holiday weekend traditions, ironically. Ironically, from my perspective, where consumerism might be counter to the bounty of the earth, but it's celebrated. And this may be more about the excitement in the beginning of shopping for the Christmas holiday season. Again, consumerism seeming to be a little bit counter to strict appreciation for the bounty, but it is also a celebration of our good fortune. So they are related. We would like to pause here for this is ID WB5D, Medical Amateur Radio Council, Grand Rounds in the Air, AA4FL Mike. Do we have any additional check-ins? Make your call this time. No additional check-ins. Do we have any comments now? Other celebrations that you would like to mention that are parallel to Thanksgiving and cultures where your families came from as they immigrated here to the United States? I'll make a list. Make your call. Whiskey Bravo 5 Delta. Okay, well, I'll take that as a compliment and that we're being comprehensive and there's no additional information, but feel free at any time to offer your input. And next week, the Sunday prior to our US Thanksgiving holiday, we're going to continue here on our net roundtable discussions on 20 meters, the discussion of thankfulness, but we're going to consider healthcare. And I appreciate our members and friends, anyone in the amateur community that's listening. Please contribute your thoughts on the advances in medicine and medical science that you are most thankful for. I'm sure many of you have had the great benefit of these improvements with your family members and also yourself and your personal health. Don't be shy about expressing what you're thankful for. And you can send your input in advance to me by email. You can use my QRZ email address so I can incorporate it into the PowerPoint presentation. And my home call is Alpha Alpha 4 Foxtrot London. Feel free to use the email address on QRZ or Whiskey Bravo 5 Delta. Should all be listed there. So now we're going to talk a little bit more about tryptophan in turkey. So turkey is a popular source of meat in the United States. And this health benefits information is from a WebMD column online called The Health Benefits of Turkey. You can Google it and look for the original source. I'm just quoting what they've said. People in the US ate 5.3 billion pounds in 2019 of turkey. That's 16 pounds per person. And it's also twice as much as people ate just 50 years ago. So since then, scientists have learned a lot about many good things that turkey can do for your health. So we're not always talking about the Thanksgiving turkey, the 16 pounds. I mean, turkey is a great source of protein and packs a nutritional punch, and it's healthier overall than red meat. So many people choose it as a replacement for beef in recipes. I know tonight we're making spaghetti and meatballs here today, and it's turkey meat mixed with other meat. So it can be used as a good source of health. And the body uses protein to build and repair bones, muscles, cartilage, skin, blood, and tissue. It's a macronutrient protein, which means that your body needs a lot of it. Your body can't store protein, so you need to consume it every day. As long as you don't eat too much turkey, it's a healthy way to get the protein you need. It's also a good source of beneficial vitamins and minerals like magnesium and niacin. It also contains tryptophan. Again, the discussion we're having here today. What's the relationship between tryptophan and turkey? Is that something that's important? Does it have other side effects on Thanksgiving? It's an essential plant-derived amino acid that's needed for our body's biosynthesis of proteins. And once ingested, it's metabolically transformed into bioactive metabolites, including serotonin, melatonin, and others, including niacin. And this is from another article. This particular article is from Friedman in Nutrition and Benefits of Tryptophan. And it actually probably is a little self-serving. This one from a journal of tryptophan research in 2018. article, but it states that brain serotonin derived from tryptophan is known to influence affective events such as mood disorders. And we'll talk about that in a little more detail as we actually discuss some of the health implications and the physiological implications of turkey and tryptophan. But what about in popular culture? Is tryptophan in turkey a cause of sleepiness, or is this just a myth? There was a Seinfeld episode in 1997, and Jerry and George schemed to make a woman fall asleep by serving a big turkey meal with sides and wine, because they wanted to play with her antique toy collection. And they wanted her to go to sleep so they could play with her toy collection. And that kind of, was implicating tryptophan as turkey as a cultural connection to sleepiness at Thanksgiving. But can it just be that people are sleepy after Thanksgiving because of the other food they eat, all the proteins, the overeating quantity, the alcohol they consume? And this particular article was from today.com. What makes you sleepy? Truth about tryptophan. It's not a scientific source, but I think you'll find that it's just part of the overall presentation, just pointing us in a particular direction from a cultural standpoint. If we look at that same article, it says tryptophan is one of the amino acids that the body uses to make protein, help it repair tissue that we just talked about. And that was referencing the National Library of Medicine. And the body can't produce enough tryptophan at all, so you must get it in your diet. Turkey is a good source. We talked before, what about other foods, traditional foods? What's in cheese? It's in chicken, fish, milk, peanuts, egg whites, soybeans. It can be found in sunflower, pumpkin, and sesame seeds. And that's part of the holiday tradition, pumpkin, but this is on the seed end. But it does more than just build muscle. Some of them are starter compounds for brain neurotransmitters. They become serotonin. And that's the brain chemical that calms, causes sleep, among other things, if the right enzymes are around to do so. So maybe that's where some of this cultural consideration came from as they're doing that Seinfeld episode. If we go to Healthline and see what makes turkey, why it makes you so sleepy, they've talked about that. You can search online for Healthline, why turkey makes you sleepy, and you'll find an article about that as we talk about drowsiness. And what they had to say is, if you've ever curled up on the couch, this quotations, after a Thanksgiving feast to catch a few winks, you may have wondered about that old holiday rumor about turkey, that the bird contains tryptophan, which appears to be some kind of natural sleep aid. But is there anything to that, according to this article, or is it just a Thanksgiving themed myth to justify avoiding the post-meal cleanup? The short answer for that is no. A few slices of turkey aren't enough to knock you out. The science of sleepiness after a Thanksgiving meal is a little more complicated than that. Because in addition to the effect, you're also consuming a lot of carbs and calories in a short time. That has an effect on your body. What about the time of the year? And what about the holiday sleep cycle? We're all busy trying to get ready for the holidays. But you can certainly fight that off this Thanksgiving or on any day that has lots of food and drink. It can be pretty simple. Just do a little bit of planning, a little self-control. Do we have anybody that would like to make comments about turkey and tryptophan before I continue on here? Make your call to Whiskey Bravo 5 Delta. That's an unusual tune-up. Somebody always doing a woo on 20 meters. Are there some comments on 20 meters? Go ahead and make your call to Whiskey Bravo 5 Delta. Well, moving on to the article, going back to that on healthline.com. What does the science say about it? They do give the scientific background, quotations here. Yeah, yes, turkey does contain tryptophan, and it does promote good sleep and good mood, according to research. And you can see the research from neuroscience and biobehavioral reviews. You can search for that on the internet. And you can find that through the Healthline link here. Tryptophan is one of the several essential amino acids, which are considered the building blocks of proteins in animals and plants. So it's specifically involved in the production of serotonin. So it's the hormone that helps regulate mood, and melatonin, the hormone that helps regulate sleep. And that's according to a 2016 review of studies on how tryptophan affects your body. So adults who take tryptophan supplements take doses of 5 grams before going to bed to help improve sleep. But by comparison, 2 servings of turkey only contain 410 milligrams of tryptophan, which is close to the daily requirement of this important nutrient. So from that aspect, it's important, but it also means you'd have to eat 20 servings of turkey to equal 1 dose of tryptophan in pill form. That's a lot of trips to the buffet or a lot of second helpings. Now, I may have been guilty of reaching the 20 servings, so I'd be guilty of sleepiness by overeating. So that also is a factor. But tryptophan, the normal amount from turkey, is not a source of sleepiness. Does anybody like to make a comment on that? Make your call to Whiskey Bravo 5 Delta. Yes, this is the Grand Rounds on the Air and Net. It's a regular weekly feature of the Medical Amateur Radio Council, ARL affiliated club open to all amateur radio operators. We meet every Sunday at 11 o'clock Eastern. We don't do that as an affront to those that are going to church, but historically, physicians, when they had their Grand Rounds in the air, as you can see, that's a hospital term, they had Sunday mornings more likely to be able to participate because Monday through Saturday, they were actually in the hospital doing their rounds. That would have prevented them from getting together and holding an amateur radio net, which of course is a passion, as a shared passion amongst our members, which are not just medical professionals. We have all across the spectrum, everybody that's interested in health that can be a member of the Medical Amateur Radio Council. And if you look at our board of directors, we have members from all walks of life, not just physicians and dentists, veterinarians, nurses, just down the line, emergency medical services, members from all backgrounds. This is Whiskey Bravo 5 Delta for ID. Any late check-ins before I continue on with our roundtable discussion?
Whiskey Bravo 5 Delta. Good morning, Jamie. Copy Kilo 4 Romeo Lima Charlie.
Yes, I do. Kilo 4, Romeo Lima Charlie. Bob Ponder here from North Carolina. Dr. Bob, would you like to offer any point at this time?
Thank you, Jay. We're actually down at North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, right now. So that's a good topic. You're on your topic here. Very awesome. No, very interesting, and I like what you're doing with transforming churches. The serotonin, the mood and memory neurotransmitter. As a whole, given that it's also a time for people who are getting together and giving things, hopefully not too much contentious stuff. And, I'm still dealing with this allergy, bronchitis. Hopefully I'm going to help them on this. And more antibiotics and prednisone. I get things for antibiotics and prednisone. So anyway, back to you, Jay.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Thank you for being here. As those of you that are hearing Bob's feed off 20 meters, we have that contest going on. A lot of care. I'm kind of smiling and chuckling here because we have NetLogger up and running, and Bill KC9CS just commented. He wanted to know if we could start our discussions over. He had turkey bacon for breakfast and he fell asleep. So Bill, your character, thanks for that. I guess I ate the right time of breakfast. I didn't have it be turkey based today. But thank you for everybody being here. I also have Jeff, Whiskey 9 Foxtrot, checked in here with us today. Jeff, thank you for being here with us today from Chicagoland. As you can tell, we have a lot of the country covered in our nets. We have radio signals from all over the country. We would worldwide. One of the reasons why we do Zoom presentations and record them also for YouTube is because many of our members are overseas. So if you're in Japan, it may not be a convenient time if you're in India to get on with the net, both from the standpoint of radio signals. And we do live in a 24/7 world, but the sun and the atmosphere don't always live on that same local clock that we do. We as amateur radio operators, we tend to follow the sun. We look at the gray line, the time between night and dark. And some of our frequencies are good for nighttime, some are good for daytime, but that doesn't mean in the other part of the world it's the common. That's why we follow that gray line, because that is common. It's just whether or not it's becoming light or whether it's becoming dark. But if we look at turkey and drowsiness and look at the effects of tryptophan loading on human cognition, mood, and sleep, there is science to back that up. And you can search for this one again on PubMed. Boy, I'm mutilating that today. Silver and Schmidt are the authors. The neurobiology, behavioral research, I believe it. Perhaps I'm not getting the entire journal correctly, but it's a 2009 article, and they talk about the serotonergic function of acute tryptophan depletion. You can go read the article, how cognitive functions are influenced by serotonin. But the research has consistently shown, according to them, the tryptophan loading impairs psychomotor and reaction time performance. However, it's likely to be attributed to its mild sedative effects. As we talked earlier about the quantity of tryptophan, you'd have to eat an awful lot of turkey at Thanksgiving for those effects to take place. So in reality, it's there, but it's not necessarily in practicality a factor for Thanksgiving. And we appreciate everybody being here with us today. It's not a particularly long session. We have plenty of time to meet and greet and show our appreciation and thankfulness, and hope that that holiday component of thankfulness is there for you, because it is important to well-being, as we discussed earlier, to be thankful. So hopefully, as part of your holiday tradition, in addition to the football and the food, you'll sit down and express as a group, as each individual, well, what you're thankful for, whether you meet live or you have a family Zoom session. We're in an interconnected world here. We have opportunity to express our best wishes, and in this case, in a thankful way. So this is Whiskey Bravo 5 Delta, the Medical Amateur Radio Council here, Grand Rounds on the Internet. Do we have some input and comments? Individuals like to make comments? Let's start here and make a list. Make your call to Whiskey Bravo 5 Delta.
N3IM.
Okay, N3IM, why don't you go ahead and start with your comments, Keith?
Just an interesting comment about the fact that we talked about pumpkins here a couple of weeks ago, and that pumpkin seeds contain a lot of tryptophan. That's my comment.
Okay, thank you, Keith, mentioning that pumpkin seeds have a lot of tryptophan in them, as well as some of the other foods we talked about. So we have to get the tryptophan from our diet. So it wouldn't make sense to only have it in turkey, obviously. It's across the board in eggs, and I remember the list of all the different foods we mentioned. It is an amino acid, an essential amino acid. That makes sense. Thank you for reminding of that, Keith. But for a standpoint of Thanksgiving and Halloween and holiday season, there are other sources in the traditional foods. Further comments? Go ahead and make your call to Whiskey Bravo 5 Delta. We have a quiet bunch here today. Has everybody had turkey bacon this morning like Bill? Is that why we're quiet? Go ahead. You're going to leave another 10 or 15 minutes for Jay to have a microphone and tell jokes? Come on now. That is really a dangerous scenario. This is AA4FL Mike, by the way. Anybody else like to make comments before we bring the net to a close on this contest weekend and release the frequency back to general amateur use? Make your call to Whiskey Bravo 5 Delta. Okay, KM0S, go ahead, Dave.
Yeah. The dark meat versus the breast meat. When I was a boy, I used to like the roast about a half a see, I was never much of one to eat the breast. I always liked the dark meat over.
That's a wonderful question. I don't know the answer to. We'd have to research that. But I wonder if that's somewhere on the internet. Must be. Everything's on the internet. The question is whether or not it's true or not. The question of whether or not the dark meat or the breast meat has higher levels of tryptophan. And here Dave seems to indicate that he likes dark meat and he gets sleepy after eating it. I don't know if you said you dropped your forehead in the mashed potatoes after you eat it or not. Maybe I heard you wrong there. Uh, yeah, we are all biased what we want, what we'd like to think that people have to say. But anybody have comments for Dave on that particular question about the dark meat versus white meat content of tryptophan? Well, Dave, I guess we're going to have to research that one. Every year, and that's the beauty of having the Grand Rounds researched. We've been making PowerPoints out of our research and Word documents, and that's available for the next year. We just build and build on our knowledge base with your input and, the additional information that you want. Per Dave's question, KN0S, it was a great question. I'll be prepared next year, and we'll beat the drum on that with the drumstick next year. Any other further comments? This is Whiskey Bravo 5 Delta. Okay, well, none heard. I will say that I know in other countries, my sister lives in England, and they celebrated a different time. So cultures all over the world certainly have, an appreciation. I'm not sure in the Indian subcontinent which holiday that is. I imagine some of the holidays are social in nature and some are probably religious in nature across the world. Anybody else familiar with a holiday of thankfulness that we haven't mentioned? Please go ahead and give us a call. Any amateurs here that are monitoring? I guess we're all focused on the contest this weekend, on the sweepstakes. But if there's any comments, you don't have to be a Marco member. We're open to all amateur radio operators. Please contribute a question or a comment. Okay, well, none heard at this time. I'm going to go ahead here and give my well wishes for a wonderful Thanksgiving to all of you and all of you that are listening here on YouTube. I'm going to go ahead and stop our recording now.